welcome. How is everybody doing? It is June 25th, 2025. This is RambleCast. I'm your host, Cody Toombs, and with me I have Corbin Davenport.
Hello.
All right, so we're not at war. It's not Prime Day yet, and I don't have a third thing, but yay!
Don't say Prime Day around me. I'm already at my limit.
I know. What RambleCast episode number is this? Holy crap, you think I'm keeping track of that? Not even the vaguest clue. I'm gonna have to guess. By now, it has to be somewhere around like at least 150. No, wait, no. Been going longer than that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, it's got to be somewhere in at least 200 because we've been doing this since 2020. And there should be presumably about 50 per year minus, a week off here and there for like Christmas and the occasional missed episodes. So yeah, it's got to be at least in the 200s. Holy crap. So not bad. It's not many podcasts that make it this far before someone gives up.
And that's why this is my last RambleCast. After this, I'm dying.
Oh, come on. We're all dying. We live in America.
You can replace me with AI Corbin. Please don't.
I was going to say I probably could, but honestly, not willing to pay the cost right now. Yet. It'll come down somehow, some way.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So that's taken some interesting turns. So let's see what is in fact new this week. I don't know. Okay. Really quick first. Hello, Carson, Austin, Alyssa, and Diablo. Good to have you guys here. But what we also have here is new Firefox.
Yeah, so just a quick shout out to Firefox 140, which was released yesterday. This has a couple nice improvements for like the vertical tabs and extensions and stuff like that. You can right click a tab now to unload it instead of kind of just waiting for the browser to do that on its own. The one thing in this that I love so much is they finally copied Chrome with custom search engines. So Chrome and some of the other Chromium browsers have the ability to where you can set your own search engine and then even make one of them as the default if you want. And that's really nice for like really any website where there's a search bar. You can usually kind of hack it to make it a search option in the URL bar. So when I need to quickly check the price of something on Amazon, I can just do it from my address bar instead of going to Amazon.com first and waiting for the page to load and then click the search bar and start typing. It's really nice. So Firefox was always kind of weird where you could do that by making it a custom bookmark with like a search query in it. But it didn't do like autocomplete that well and that kind of stuff. Or you could use a search engine that someone had put on the Firefox add-ons site, but that doesn't help you if you want to customize anything. So finally, Firefox just copied Chrome, and you can have your list of custom search engines, and they even added fields for like hold on, if I go to it, if you open Firefox settings and go to search, there's like just a list now, and you can click add, and you can fill out the URL for it to jump to, and you can give it a name and a keyword to like autocomplete from your keyboard. You can even set custom post data and the URL for suggestions. So I've already made a couple. I added one. Actually, I'll find it, but I made one for Google without the AI search results. That extra UDM query thing you can add to URLs to get it to jump to the web page that doesn't have the AI overview. I added that, and that's my custom. That's my main search now. And because they have a field for search suggestions, I just put in the URL for Google's normal search suggestion, so it is functionally identical, which is really nice. So let me find GitHub gist. I couldn't remember what gists were called on GitHub for a second. My brain's not working great today, folks. I'm gonna be honest. Okay, I'll put this in the YouTube chat. That's my quick instructions for duplicating that in Firefox and probably other browsers. So I just want to give this a shout out because I really like this change. I like being able to use Google without having to scroll past the stupid AI overview every time. I like that I can add a bunch of other like random e-commerce websites, stuff I have to check for work all the time. But yeah. So thank you, Mozilla, for doing something cool instead of some AI thing no one wants.
Let's see. Cool. Yeah, I don't use Firefox a ton these days, but yeah, good to see this here. Cool. Okay, so was there anything else to mention on this?
Nope.
Okay. Well, in the spirit of giving shout-outs to relatively small things, but good things, sort of, I'm going to bring up a weird one, but the HDMI 2.2 spec has been finalized. Yes, as it turns out, I'm a little bit not a big time spec nerd, but I'm a little bit of a spec nerd when it comes to just knowing that there are new and sort of finalized specs, because honestly, I would give it like another 6 months and then basically never again buy any HDMI cable that is not the newest spec. So do you need gold-plated cables to use it? Monster is not sponsoring this channel, so no, you don't. But Monster, if you'd like to sponsor, we could talk about it.
I can think of a lot worse things to shill than overpriced HDMI cables.
You mean anything on Fox News?
Yeah. Yeah, Fox News shills just gold, and we shill gold HDMI cables.
Oh, I was thinking about the weird drugs that they say block everything, or colloidal silver, or any of that stuff. But yeah,
the Cody drugs, Cody supplements.
Yes, I will come out with my own brand.
Because I mean, the gold-plated HDMI cables, sure, they have no purpose, but they still work as well as other cables. So
they do also kind of look cool.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to treat yourself, you know.
Yeah.
All those times you look behind your TV.
Yes. All those times you look behind your TV. So yeah. Anyway, as for the spec, it if you're looking at the background, you can already see the big new hype point is it can transfer up to 96 gigabits per second, which probably sounds kind of insane, but truth of the matter is it's actually not that big of a change, because the current 2.1 spec actually caps out at 48 gigabits per second, so they literally just doubled the maximum bandwidth. Chances are, I'm guessing they just added some more wires. Or maybe double the clock speed. I don't know which. It kind of doesn't matter.
I mean, that is a lot. I think.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't Thunderbolt 5 max out at 80? What's Thunderbolt up to?
I thought it was Thunderbolt 4 that maxed at 80. I don't know off the top of my head.
I think it also depends on. Okay, so Thunderbolt 5 delivers 80 gigabits per second of bi-directional bandwidth. And with bandwidth boost, which I assume is one direction, will provide up to 120 gigabits per second for the best display experience.
Okay.
So it's getting up there. That's definitely higher than, I guess it's Thunderbolt 4 and USB 4 that both max out at 80.
You should be. Yeah, I can never keep.
Yes,
I can never
USB
keep
4.
all the parallel specs. In mind.
I know from the Thunderbolt Hub review that I just had to write that will be up at some point, is that it generally goes like Thunderbolt 3, USB 4, Thunderbolt 5. That's you're going up the ladder there.
Yeah. So,
Austin said, honestly, can we just kill HDMI for USB-C? I mean, it'd be nice because HDMI sucks, but seems like it's just gonna stick around. We have to have two versions of all important technologies. That's the rule.
Oh,
we can't let big DisplayPort win. There has to be controlled opposition.
Yeah, except it's not even just 3 versions. Don't forget, we also have Ethernet. Ethernet is really just the other big standard that all of these things kind of work over. You can, in fact, literally get HDMI to Ethernet adapters. I know this because I've seen a couple pop up on Vine. But yeah, you can literally just connect and run HDMI through your walls.
You can get power over all of them. I've got a light over here that's just connected with a series of power over Ethernet and power over HDMI adapters.
Fun fact.
I don't, but I could.
Some people say you can also do power over USB-C.
That's true. That's what my computer's doing right now.
Yeah. Let's see. Ethernet can never die. Oh, it definitely won't. I mean, people talk like, oh, you can just set up Wi-Fi in your house and you don't need to bother with Ethernet ever again. And then there's so many other people. If you just ask them, they're going to be like, oh yeah, no, I need Ethernet in my house. Like, there's so much radio interference for this reason or that reason, or that's me.
Yep.
Or you live in a house where the walls have something weird going on in them, or literally there might be, in some cases, this is real, you might have internal walls that are metal. So yeah, there are a bunch of reasons why sometimes wireless signals just do not work around a house. So yeah 100% Ethernet's never going away until we tear down most of the things we built in this world and build them back up. And even then, there's still good reason to have Ethernet. So yeah, anyway, overall, this is not the biggest change in spec, but it is notable. Let's see, the new spec is capable of sending up to 12K resolution at 120 frames per second, or 16K at 60 frames per second. I know this sort of thing sounds insane. However, I think it's worth pointing out, with stuff like VR headsets that could be much higher resolution than what we have going today, this is not actually that unrealistic. These types of resolutions are actually in the territory. People are gonna possibly be running HDMI cables into a VR headset just so they can have super high res images. Anyway, Then of course it can also do 8K at up to 240 frames per second at 10-bit or 12-bit color. So yeah, these are worth it.
Yeah, and even if you have the argument of like no one needs this, whatever. Well, they're building for the next couple years because ideally, maybe by the time you need a screen that's like 8K or whatever for some purpose, I don't know. Then hopefully you already have a computer that has HDMI 2.2 or some equivalent. So it's always good to get ahead of these things.
Well, the cables pretty much, it sounds weird to say, but the cables pretty much always have to come before everything that would use the cables. So yeah, it's actually relevant that the spec exists. It kind of needs to, otherwise, I mean, sure, companies could just make their own cables for a particular thing, but then if they're not up to some sort of standard, when a standard is later created, those cables effectively become single purpose items or otherwise worthless. And then the devices that were made to use those cables also usually get sort of abandoned and left behind. So it's better to actually have the specs out ahead of time. Just ask Apple how it feels about Lightning these days. So yeah, I mean, this is a small thing, but considering sort of the PSA for don't rush out and buy anything now, because these cables are basically they're no better than a 2.1 cable for now. But in, say, a year, 2 years, something like that, you might actually end up getting the first device that could make use of this. And bear in mind, it doesn't have to just be video that's traveling over this. It could actually be something like, you could have something like 10 or 20 gigabit per second data traveling over the cable as like Ethernet data, while the rest of it is dedicated to video. This is a thing that's perfectly valid over the HDMI specs. So you may end up with a device that could make use of this cable, and hey, wouldn't it be nice to actually have the cables that would work instead of having to buy all new cables, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, after you just bought some. So there, again, no urgency on this, but just be aware of it.
Like Austin said, I was watching some Display Week videos, and some medical monitors are 12K already. What are the like physical sizes of those? Because I guess I can understand it, like if you're trying to pull up like scans and you don't want to zoom in to see all the details, but that would still need a lot of surface area, I guess.
I've kind of wondered that myself in a slightly different form. Because there are like the displays inside of like actual physical cameras like this. The tiny little display you look at through the eyepiece is actually really, really tiny, and the lens frankly makes it look a bit bigger than it actually is. So
you said a lot of them were 27 inches. Wow. 27
no, I believe that.
I was on a 27-inch 1080p monitor until like 2 months ago. now I'm 4K. I think this is still 27 inches. What size is my monitor? I need to look at Amazon. Because I got a bigger one. It's 27 inches. Okay, so yeah, that's a lot of pixels.
Yeah, the PPI on that is pretty crazy. But yeah, there are a lot of cases where displays actually come in really, really high density pixels, and that's I'm assuming for cost benefit, maybe it's cheaper to produce it like a really high density display, as long as it's going to be useful at those densities. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. The cost of those things has got to be enormous right now. But, and I say this with every ounce of dread and regret that I'm even uttering these words, but when they appear at CES 2027, yeah, they're still going to be crazy expensive, but by CES 2029, dude, they are going to rock bottom those prices.
Hopefully that's not on those little like wheelie monitors that has a chance of like tipping over and breaking if you roll it down the hallway too fast.
The AV
Like those
carts in
big
school.
yeah. Well, no, I was thinking more like
like an LG monitor stand.
Yeah, like are they like the Google Jamboard, like the Surface mount, like those things that are on just like one like stick with wheels at the bottom. You kind of pull it.
Wait,
those are easy to tip over. I feel like.
God, I really hope the Jamboard's not actually on one of those. That sounds so.
Getting misdiagnosed at the hospital because the doctor is using a Jamboard.
Oh God. That would be dark.
I've been diagnosed with Google Meat.
Have you been eating your Google Meat today? Okay.
Oh dear. Speaking
it's
of
go bad today.
Dying. Speaking of dying.
Yes.
There's more shenanigans with Windows 11, if you can believe it, or I should say Windows 10. So the end of life date for Windows 10 is still approaching, which is October something. Where has it been this hard? October 14th, 2025. After that day, you will, with the exclusion I'm about to mention, you will not get security updates or new features or any other patches on a Windows 10 PC. And this got a lot of criticism when it was first announced because you cannot upgrade to Windows 11 on a lot of Windows 10 PCs, even if you wanted to. And Microsoft's main solution has been buy a new computer. Just buy a new computer. Those are easy, right?
Shrimply
the economy's great.
Computer.
The economy's great right now. I don't know what you're complaining about. Go out and buy a new computer. So that's a whole that's still kind of a doomsday approaching that I'm not looking forward to. I'm not looking forward to all the articles of like 5 million Windows 10 PCs were hacked this month because Microsoft isn't patching them anymore. So if you thought that Microsoft would maybe like would blink and relent a little bit, it doesn't seem like they're going to do that. They are slightly changing their plans. So last year they did say that you would be able to pay, I believe it's $30 for another year of support for a Windows 10 PC, which is what they already offered every previous Windows transition to enterprise customers. They're just also doing it for the normal people now. So, it's the same thing as like Fortune 500 company still has their fleet of old Windows PCs that they don't want to upgrade right now. They can pay Microsoft more to keep those up to date. And then if you're the U.S. military, you still got some Windows XP computers getting the world's most expensive software updates. And so now Microsoft is still asking you to pretty please buy a new computer. But at the very end of this blog post that they posted earlier this week, they did mention how they're changing the options a little bit. So if you have a Windows 10 PC, you have the option to upgrade to Windows 11 if you can, or you can pay the $30. I believe that's only for the first year. I don't think that they have pricing for additional years yet. Yeah. But they will also. There's two other options to get those extended security updates now that are new. Number one is you can redeem 1,000 Microsoft reward points if you have those. So I don't know. If you use Bing without thinking about it for several years, maybe you have enough of those stacked up now. Um, and then the last option is use Windows Backup to sync your settings to the cloud at no additional cost. And what that means is you accept the thing in Windows that it already bugs you to do a lot, which is back up your like desktop and documents folder to OneDrive along with all your settings. And I this pissed me the fuck off. I'm sorry. This whole transition is completely made up. Like I understand, at a certain point we have to leave old technology behind and so on and so forth. But like there's still a lot of computers that just Microsoft will not support with Windows 11 for a made up reason, by the way. They'll say it's the TPM and security stuff. I still don't see why they couldn't update them and just be like, there's going to be some bugs that we just can't fix for your PC on Windows 11. Some security vulnerabilities we just can't fully fix. Sorry. That feels like an acceptable trade-off if they wanted to do that. It's just it's hard to not to go full tinfoil hat. It's hard to not look at this entire process and think about how during COVID PC manufacturers were making a ton of money because suddenly everyone was buying computers for their home again, so they could do school from home or work or whatever. And then in the years after like 2020 or 2021, sales fell off a cliff because everyone has their computer for the next 5 years. So we have to. And Microsoft makes money every time you buy a computer with Windows 11 because they are, PC makers pay for Windows with per device licenses. So it's hard to not look at this entire process and go, Microsoft wants you to buy a new computer because they make money when you buy a new computer. That's the end of it. Like, because every other reason for them to do it is already exists on Windows 10. Like, they can already harass you into using Edge and like looking at the, clickbait, hateful garbage they put on like the widget panel and the new tab page on Edge. And they can already bully you into paying for OneDrive on Windows 10 just as they can on Windows 11. So the entire migration feels incredibly forced to me. I've never seen a argument for it that I think makes sense. I know, again, at some point you have to be like, well, those PCs are too old. Like Windows 11 also dropped support for 32-bit PCs. That's not something I'm gonna, I think is unreasonable. Like you can do a little bit, but when you have like high-end PCs from 6 years ago that just can't be officially updated, that seems like not great to me. And their latest solution being pay us or let us enable OneDrive. And I'm absolutely certain once you do that, the 5 gigabytes or whatever of free OneDrive storage is going to fill up, because I'm sure like a lot of people's documents and desktop folders are more than 5 gigs. My mom certainly is. Every time I look at her computer and all the stuff on her desktop. And then I'm sure he'll pop and be like, hey, you're out of OneDrive storage. You got to pay us so it keeps backing up. Don't you want to pay us? Because that's what they do already on Windows 11, is they sort of social engineer you into enabling OneDrive. And then when you're full of OneDrive storage, it will, show you scary pop-ups like, hey, you're out. We can't back up your data. If you lose your data, we can't get it back. So I don't know. This is just super gross. I'm really tired of it. Like this entire migration has been one of the most profit-seeking endeavors I've seen from Microsoft in a while. Just in terms of like the damage I think it's gonna have, because I know for a fact 95% of people are just gonna be like, I don't care.
Yeah,
because that's what people do with computers. They don't care. Like I had a family member over a couple months ago, and I upgraded his computer to a CPU that supports TPM 2.0, and I did a fresh install, a fresh upgrade from Windows 10 to 11. I knew if I didn't do that, he wouldn't have. because most people just don't care. It's not a thing you have to think about. So once October hits, there's no doubt in my mind that there's going to be a steady stream of random security vulnerabilities in Windows that don't get patched on those computers, and they'll slowly become more and more dangerous to use. And there wouldn't have been a reason for it. Like,
Okay.
Microsoft can sustain itself through enterprise. Like that's kind of been how they've operated for years. Is like, you know why it's so easy to crack Windows? Because they don't care. Because they make money from big companies buying bulk PCs and licenses, and they can sue those companies if they try to crack Windows. But on the consumer side, this is pretty gross.
Okay, so it's funny because you're talking about once the deadline comes, all these computers will be left unprotected. You may have actually missed the fun little connection because you also just talked about them social engineering you into spending money on Drive. I will almost guarantee that come the deadline, every time you start the PC, and probably about once a week, maybe at least once a month, they're going to pop up reminders telling you,
oh yeah,
your system is no longer supported, blah blah blah, like here's what you need to do. You should get to Windows 11 as quickly as possible. Look for the emergency lights and head towards the nearest exit. Like they 100% are going to be pushing that narrative through those same warnings. So yeah, that's just how this is going to be. That being said,
yeah. and everyone will click past it.
Oh
because that's what Microsoft has already trained every Windows user to do. Because every time you update Windows 10 or Windows 11 and you don't have all of your settings exactly how Microsoft wants it, like Edge being your default browser, you get a big pop-up that's like, hey, don't you want to finish setting up your computer? And everyone's like, no, I want to go to my computer. Go away.
That being said, just going to go out on a limb here and also predict that they're probably going to have probably some always visible indicator, like down in the taskbar next to the clock, that basically makes it impossible not to know that you're using an old version of Windows. So screen recordings, streamers, anybody like that are probably going to be kind of outing the fact they are using an outdated version. Not to say that people can't already tell, but just, this will add a little bit more weight to it. That being said, I think this is another way that Microsoft is going to sort of inadvertently drive a lot of people to try Linux. And good. Good. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think a lot of people need to be switching to Linux, but I think it's kind of good if a lot of people start at least experimenting with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the things that's made me feel better about the migration is a lot of people in the Linux community have stepped up and tried to make resources for people who are trying to switch. And even like, we talked about a couple of shows ago about how like people actually doing like in-person events because sometimes you need a person to show you how to use this stuff. So like, yeah, I mean, I think that's been cool to see. And again, for like the people who are just kind of using their computer mostly for a web browser, use Linux. Like that's great. It's really just everything else where it starts being not the best choice or the best of possible choices. But yeah, so that's just more Windows 10 nonsense. It doesn't have to be this way. But this is just what Microsoft is determined to do, I guess.
Determined to hurt the world.
Yeah, and I have a computer back there that I'm also setting up for family at the moment, and I was installing all the drivers, and I guess I let the mouse wander to the corner, and the lovely widget panel opened up with the full screen recommended articles, and like half of them are Fox News. And I'm like, I,
Gross.
yeah, I'm gonna eventually have to write the article that's just like, we don't give Microsoft and other tech companies enough shit for like some of the like real radicalization they're doing. Like
They're basically as
how
bad as
many
Facebook.
yeah, yeah, and in places where it just doesn't need to be. Like why is the desktop operating system trying to make me mad about Joe Biden? You know what I mean? Like we're just like, what are we doing here? That and Roku. I've also got that same bone to pick with Roku. Um, because Roku, if you go on a Roku TV and you go on the Roku live channels, there's some interesting stuff in there, unless you explicitly turn them off. Like Newsmax is in there, and I believe OAN, I think, is
Ooh.
still in there. It's really cool. It's really cool. I love big tech companies. Speaking of big tech companies, uh, there's some more AI nonsense. I don't know if you maybe have a better summary of this than I do.
All right. So, the headline kind of says the lion's share of this. Anthropic was sued by a bunch of creators, or sorry, a bunch of authors, for basically training its model on their books. The company downloaded a bunch of pirated copies of novels and use them as training material. Which, okay, right out of the gate, we're already talking about some pretty cringy behavior here. It like the least they could have done is popped a few bucks to buy these things on sale. Regardless, so the this has gone through the court, and Judge William Alsup, which I'll be discussing him again in just a moment, but he gave the ruling that their use of these materials for training AI are protected as fair use. Which, holy crap, is possibly one of the dumbest rulings I've ever heard. But I will also come back to that. As a side note, the judge did express that he was not ruling on all aspects of this case. Rather, the authors are still free to sue Anthropic for piracy because they did not pay for the books and they proceeded to keep them on their system even though they claimed that they decided not to use them, or at least undid their use of them. It's somewhat unclear. So yeah, right out of the gate, this is a little bit of an insane story. But okay, so really quick, I said I would address William Alsup. If you actually if you have the kind of mind that remembers names of judges that should otherwise probably never come up, you might remember this guy because he's actually made news several times. One of the more recent times that you've heard of him, let me pull up the Wikipedia for this guy too, because I will surely forget one of them. One of the things that he did very recently is he actually suggested, without a case to back it up, unfortunately, he suggested that a lot of the firings that Elon Musk's Doge department did are likely illegal. Which is, again, unfortunately, he didn't have a case to actually preside over. He just basically said, yeah, probably not okay. So let's see. Or wait, did he actually have a case for that? Oh yeah, sorry, he did have a case for that. My bad. Though I have a feeling the fact that he did not give a direct final ruling, or I think he didn't. It doesn't matter. So he's had a couple of good takes. Another one of his good takes happened to be in the infamous, and this is where most people probably first heard his name, the infamous Oracle versus Google case, where Oracle was suing Google for use of the Java APIs. And since Alsup is himself familiar with programming, he actually was aware enough to call out that a lot of Oracle's arguments were completely ridiculous. Things like code to check like an array. Oracle tried to make it sound like this was some sort of big amazing feat, and basically it's like no, like literally everybody has this. There's nothing special here. So he's made some good rulings. He's made some pretty questionable ones. For example, dismissing a lawsuit against ExxonMobil that absolutely should have gone forward. And now here he is taking an interesting side for AI, which I think his ruling is dangerous, to say the very least, because he's basically saying all training on copyrighted works is now fair use. Which there is a basis of argument for this that does make sense to me, and it pretty much centers on the notion that any person can look at a thing and then say, oh, that inspired me to do something really cool, and so they go off and do something else. The thing that they do could in fact be very much directly infringing, or the thing they do could be a very different thing that just happened to be inspired by the thing they saw. So the notion of being trained on or being aware of a prior work and having it impact or influence the works that you do from that point on, as a human concept, we've addressed this. Not very effectively, but that is essentially what the copyright and patent laws exist to do. Here, he's basically saying he's taking the side that all training on existing materials should be assumed to be that protected version of fair use. By the way, I also take some objection to this, because fair use is more commonly a copyright issue in the sense of like taking a literal work and then augmenting it for a new work, which this is, I would argue that's not what AI does. So the problem here is he's basically saying that there is effectively no more copyright protection as long as something is fed through AI first. Because nothing in his ruling asserts that the AI couldn't spit out something that is effectively nearly identical to the original work. And therefore, if that happens, cheers. All you had to do was train an AI to spit out something that is basically the original thing slightly augmented. You now have the loophole. This ruling creates that loophole. And it's not like this can't be overruled. It could certainly go through an appeals process and be tossed out on that basis. But in the meantime, this I think is going to turn out to be a subtle but massive win for AI companies that just want to abuse all prior work. That's my point. Corbin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a coherent opinion on this yet, but I still just kind of endlessly frustrated where the companies that are so eager to build tools to replace us sort of get more passes on copyright infringement than individuals do. Like if under the basis that like if they if they paid for a movie once or something, then they can train it for all eternity. Um, I don't know, just I need more brain cells than I currently have right now to have a better take here, but still just kind of frustrated at the overall situation.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you on that. I will say, uh, I I do kind of wish that Alsop had at the very least decided to also rule on the piracy aspect, which I don't know if that was actually one of the claims in the lawsuit. So it's possible he couldn't have ruled on that. Um, oh, by the way, I should read this quote down at the bottom. Um, Despite the fair use designation, the ruling does still provide some recourse for the writers. They can choose to take Anthropic to court for piracy. Quoting the judge, Anthropic downloaded over 7 million pirated copies of books, paid nothing, and kept those pirated copies in its library even after deciding it would not use them to train its AI. Okay, so I just feel like this bears saying. Historically, courts have ruled so brutally over pirated anything in a business. Adobe made sure of that. Adobe has gotten massive rulings in its favor when pirated copies of Photoshop are found in a business, even on just like some secretary's computer. So I'm just saying, we got a ton of pirated stuff on corporate computers. This should have been like he should have encouraged the lawyers to actually amend their lawsuit just to cover this specific aspect, because Anthropic probably should have been specifically punished for this. Setting that aside, I still hate the precedent, because this
Yeah,
precedent should
and
never
like
have been set.
and the the training and the legality is something that like I don't think that's not ketchup you can put back in the bottle.
Right.
Um, because even let's say let's say Mark Zuckerberg was like, oh shit, who pirated all these books to train our AI? We can't do this anymore. And they decided, okay, we will not pirate any more books. Well, all the pirated books are probably still in the training data set that they're not going to delete. And even if they did delete that, the issue is that now a lot of AI models are being synthetically trained by other AI models. So as soon as they're like, okay, we will make a new llama that is free from copyrighted material. By the way, we're gonna make sure it works right by having it ask questions to the old llama
Mm-hmm.
500 million times a day, and that's how we improve our AI models. Oops, the old llama still knows the entirety of the Harry Potter series. So, and really, the problem, and I'm sure this is the excuse that they're using in court, is that unless you are licensing every single piece of data, you cannot be sure that it's free of copyrighted material. Because as soon as you start scraping the web, you get this stuff.
Yeah.
Like there are, because again, you can go download all the Harry Potter books in PDF from wherever. I'm sure that creeps into some data sets. Every every movie trailer that gets reposted to YouTube 5 million times, or other transformative content that it then downloads. That's just not something you can do unless you're like uh pruning the data to an incredible level of detail, and none of these companies are doing that because it's a lot of work. um
Well, they also don't
and
want to. It
right,
not just about the work.
these
They
these
literally don't want to lose
right.
that data.
and they've even said like, in courts and elsewhere, their excuse has been like, if we had to license every bit of data we use, we would not have a business model. It's like, well, then maybe you shouldn't have a business model. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Um, so like that's the only
That
way to avoid that would be by like verifying every article, book, blog post, whatever you're scraping. You have a chain of creation there. They're not. That's a lot of work, especially when these AI models they only get better by absorbing larger and larger masses of content, and that's why they're a lot of them are being trained synthetically now because they ran out of Reddit comments to parse.
Oh,
So,
but unfortunately, they haven't run out of Twitter comments.
well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to. That's not a good training data set,
No,
I
it
don't
isn't.
think.
Well, I mean, if you
Unless you
really
want
want
you want your
racism,
race spot. You want your racist bot. Grok, is this true?
yeah. So anyway, I'm annoyed by this. It's gross, but this is the world we now live in. So, um, that that is the shape of things. So, let's see. Well, it's going from one AI company to another. Apple, and this is rumor. Let's get that out of the way right now. But reportedly, Apple may be discussing whether to buy Perplexity AI. So I don't want to say a whole lot on this because it is just a rumor and nothing's necessarily happened yet. There's no evidence that they've even reached out to Perplexity over this, as far as I'm aware. However, Gurman is reporting that apparently Apple executives are in discussions about seeking to acquire Perplexity AI, which, if true, is basically them saying, yep, Siri's, like, our work on Siri is probably not going anywhere. Therefore, let's go the other route and just try to buy a new Siri. Um,
I don't understand why this is so difficult for them. Like it's I
because
I
licensing training data is expensive, Corbin.
I know, but like they've never even got to like Google Assistant circa
Yeah.
2018. Like this, it should not be this difficult. And I thought the entire point of putting, because this was the only thing I was like kind of interested in when the rumors for Apple Intelligence started. Is like, great, you got a little local language model or large language model, sorry, running locally on the device. That's great. You just make Siri talk through that, and you've got a Siri that can understand commands better. But they fucked that up too. I don't know. I mean, this is what Apple has done a couple times. Is at a certain point they're like, we fucked up too many times. We just need to buy someone who figured this out already. And that's how we got Mac OS X.
Yes.
So wouldn't surprise me. But I don't know. I don't know how this fits into their desire for local stuff. Because as far as I know, Perplexity is entirely like server infrastructure. Like they're not releasing models to run locally. I mean, I'm sure like if they got their engineers to like actually do it, they could make a smaller model just like everyone else does. But
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. Is it's certainly not a thing that I think they can just casually throw around and do. But the skill set involved in making a large model, like a physically large model, has to be basically the same skill set that goes into a smaller model, and they could make an on-device, optimized for on-device use model. It wouldn't happen overnight, but it would certainly be doable within, I would guess, 6 months. I'm not really sure, but it makes sense, and I'm sure Apple's been probably testing the water with a few different companies. Notably, there was another article I almost included in this discussion, because Anthropic, who we just finished talking about, Apple's working with them for so-called vibe coding. And so, yeah, I think they're kind of poking around, testing which companies could realistically do this. And in the course of license, or like contracting or licensing with those companies, I think they've also figured out that Perplexity might be their best bet for this. And I'm just guessing that this is purely speculative, but if so, I imagine they figured it's the shortest trip, or the most cost-effective trip to getting a new Siri built out of somebody else's work. Now, how true that is, and how quickly they could actually hit the ground and get something like this built, who knows? What I will say is kind of concerning is Apple. Apple announced the new Siri a year ago at WWDC, and it was supposed to come within the next year, and then it didn't. So I think most people can agree, like, that's fine. AI is hard. Apple didn't get it perfect, or didn't get it good enough in 1 year. So I think most people could reasonably, while, joking about it, I think most people could reasonably say, fine, you get another year. You set a new date. You're the ones who said it's coming in the next year. So what's happening now? If Apple is not even to the, as far as I can tell, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, I don't believe they've even made an offer to Perplexity yet. And if that's the case, I have trouble believing that that they'd be able to make an acquisition and have Perplexity in-house and developing a new Siri that they're actually ready to launch within the year. That's a lot of process, unless Perplexity is already working on this and Apple's more debating, do we keep contracting with you, or do we buy you, sort of like Google bought the Pixel division from HTC. Like, I'm thinking it's got to be something along those lines.
Yeah, and their business model also would be weird for Apple, because Apple is still not really a like IT company, like IT services company, and that's kind of how all these AI companies make money right now. Unless you're OpenAI and you can, also sell subscriptions to users. So I don't know. Again, should be a thing Apple can just do, but for whatever reason, they're struggling.
You would also think by now that they would have been able to hire some people to do this. I don't mean to make this like too much of a wave hand, just throw money at it kind of thing, but Apple's kind of notorious for wave hand, throw money at it, and get it done in some cases. And this seems like something they probably could have successfully hired people to do. But hey,
I mean, I'm not even really convinced that they would have to do it. Like, I feel like if they built a Siri and all these other connected intelligence systems and just stuck the like Gemini Nano model in the OS and called it a day, that might work. That might be fine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Google would be all for that and like give them all the support they need, and whatever else, or I don't know, someone else if they want to do a different model, but like that's already a thing Google built for phones. And I actually have it on my Mac right now in LM Studio. It runs very fast. But because it's Apple, and I guess they want to do everything themselves because it's kind of been their uh, corporate identity, or their how they want to run their business for the last 2 decades is like do as much as humanly possible in house. Just didn't work out.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels weird to me that Apple is struggling on this particular thing still this far into it. I mean, in a way, I do get it, but
Diablo said, "Yeah, Apple doesn't want to be the one caught with putting glue on pizza." I mean, they already kind of are.
yeah,
Like what between like you have to really fuck up for the BBC to like put a hit out on you. But that's what they did with Apple already. Of like, hey, your notification summarization keeps making us lie to our readers. Can you cut that out? And they did cut it out. They stopped enabling those notifications for news apps. Of course, it's still broken. It's still summarizing everyone's texts and everything else wrong. But I mean, yeah, I mean, they already had that. I think they had a much smaller scale version of it, just with that first WWDC conference, where they showed up like all of their like horrific AI images that look like shit. But yeah,
it's funny too because through all of this, you'd think Apple would be a little bit more, I guess I'll say, accustomed to this after, and maybe it's because of this, years and years of the autocorrect memes. Like, people joked endlessly about all the different things that autocorrect had done on iPhones. And yeah, I mean, come on. A lot of it was hilarious because holy crap, there were a lot of things that apparently people told their parents or said about their parents that just got kind of weird and creepy. But it's funny. Yes, you could certainly always duck your wife. Anyway, so the so yeah, this is the kind of thing that I think Apple probably does. They don't want that to come back around and haunt them, so I can understand why the notification summaries were something that they walked back, or would certainly want to walk back after that kind of disastrous entry. That being said, honestly, I don't understand how they didn't test that and discover that was going to be a problem right from the start, because holy crap, I swear those summaries are really bad at least 50% of the time. From the short time that I saw them, they were always bad. They came up with some weird stuff. And yeah.
I've never used it. I had Apple Intelligence on for a couple days after it was in the last macOS update, but I had that bug where even if as long as Apple Intelligence was on, whether or not it was allowed to summarize notifications, it caused all my notifications to be several seconds delayed. So I turned it off. It has not come back on because I don't really. There's nothing in it that's useful to me. Like it's not the summarization in Mail was like mildly useful. Like I did like the conceptual idea of replacing the subject line in my Mail app with like what it thinks is actually in the message, but I not enough for me to turn everything else back on.
Yeah, well, same as you. I left it running for a short time just out of curiosity, and I saw some very inventive results coming out of like Slack messages. And yeah, once I saw at least a couple of them that, look, I'm not offended, but I saw them and it's like, wow, that would be really offensive to someone with somebody who doesn't have a decent adult sensitivity to them. And so yeah, it just makes sense that they should have been able to detect this way before they launched it, and probably just either not launched it, or maybe applied some sort of other AI to be like, is the thing that you're going to talk about considered a taboo? Then maybe don't put that into your summary. I don't know. Something probably should have been uh, spotted and figured out long before that.
Yeah. Speaking of notifications from Apple,
Yes.
um, they fucked up again. Hate to say it. Um, so yesterday, Apple sent a push notification to I think everyone with an iPhone, at least in the US, um, through the Apple Wallet app, telling them that they could take $10 off uh, 2 tickets to F1 the movie, which is their movie, through Fandango. And I the funny part is that I did get this notification. I didn't actually see it until I already saw the articles complaining about it, because iOS notifications are useless. Because I hadn't opened that panel up since I woke up. I hadn't seen that yet. Um, and this is probably, I think this is the most gross Apple's got about push notifications to date. Just because it is in they've done this kind of thing a couple times. Like when you buy an iPhone, you'll get like alerts in a couple places for like, hey, don't your 3-month trial to Apple Fit is waiting or whatever. And when I open the music app on my phone to listen to the music in my own library that I paid money for, the homepage is still like, hey, don't you want to sign up for Apple Music Plus? No, I don't. But the push notifications, as far as I can remember, have pretty much always been for not really system apps. Like I think most of them were going through like the Apple Store app, which again, like it shouldn't be in there, but at least when it's in an app that's sort of like for that purpose, like if you installed the Apple Store app, I don't know if it's installed by default, but like if you have it and you're using it, you probably are interested in like offers to buy stuff. Whereas the wallet app is supposed to be just for like managing money stuff and like tickets. Like you're not really doing transactions through there, except with like you tap to pay at a store. But it's not going through there. That's just like the interface for the underlying service stuff. It's not the same thing. And I saw some people, including some tech bloggers, like try to defend this a little bit and be like, well, it's in the wallet app, which is where your tickets are, so it makes sense that ticket ads are in there or whatever. And there's like a switch somewhere. It's like, no, this is nonsense. This is the exact same shit that Samsung has been pulling for like a decade. It doesn't matter what the qualifiers are, if it's a system app, not a system app. It's like, is this an opt-in thing? Is this an opt-out thing that is not relevant, that is trying to sell you something? The answer is yes. If this was an alert of like, here is a free movie ticket, I don't think there'd be like that many. It would still be kind of dumb, but it wouldn't be to this level of complaining. Like, I still wouldn't care. I would still be personally annoyed because I don't care about this movie. But it's just a discount for tickets. And to add insult to injury, there isn't even a way to turn these off right now. As far as I know, the switch to turn these off is coming in iOS 26.
So technically, if you're running the beta, then you probably can do it. But still, that's a pretty narrow group of people, and most people are, unless you have extra iPhones laying around, most people aren't inclined to install the historically very buggy versions of betas just so they could, let's say, turn off this advertising avenue.
Even if they're even if there is a Switch, that still just gets you to the same level as Samsung, where it's like,
Yeah.
great, here's another Switch hidden in some app that no one's ever going to see to turn this off. And that's what Samsung has done for years, where they have like marketing notifications and stuff in like 10 different places, and you have to go through all of them to turn off. And, Windows is the same way, except a lot of times you can't even turn those off. So, like, it's just bad. Like, I don't think we need like qualifiers here of like, oh, it's okay if it's this thing. It's like, no, no, this is Apple needs to extract more profit from the phone you already paid hundreds of dollars for, if not thousands, over 1,000. And they need a lot of ticket sales for the movie they paid to produce or distribute or whatever in the limited time it is in theaters, so that they can get an Oscar. Like, this, it's just gross.
Yeah. So really
You do
quick.
not have to hand it to Apple.
No, definitely not. Really quick, I think it's just worth noting that Samsung and Google's guilty of this too, fortunately to a lesser degree. Samsung, even though yes, they do have various ways that you can disable notifications um, for advertisements, sometimes there are switches inside of the app. Other times, the only option is just to disable the notifications or disable that app's ability to post notifications. Something that Android just gives you the ability to do. While that is a thing, Samsung is notorious for using a very, very large list of apps to post notifications. Sometimes even just system services that don't have any sort of UI have been known to post advertisements. So Samsung very much knows what it's doing and is being intentionally awful about it. Again, Google kind of guilty of this, but certainly not as grossly so. Just it happens. And I dare say the Play Store, which is what most people expect to do the advertising, at least it's usually the Play Store that's doing it, so you can mute most of that. And of course, Google Drive.
Yeah, Diablo said it would be like the weather app gives you notifications to buy an umbrella.
Honestly, that would at least
Yeah,
make more sense.
yeah,
I don't want that
yeah.
either, but that at least
I
makes
think that
sense.
that would be like 5% better. I'd be like, that's kind of dumb.
Well, it would be particularly bad if it if it's promoting an umbrella to you during, let's say, weather where an umbrella makes absolutely no sense. Then it's really dumb. But at
Or
least if
it's an,
it's contextual, it makes sense. Though I also don't want the weather app giving me notifications hardly ever. Like, if it's putting up an ad inside the app for umbrellas when rain is coming, okay, cheers. You deserve that. You get to place that ad. I'm okay with that. If it's like putting up a high priority notification that dings on your phone, or actually even the silent notifications that'll just sit there for days or weeks until you notice, oh, what's here at the bottom of the list? Oh, great. It's an annoying notification. Like, if it's anything like either of those, yeah, F you. I don't want you. I don't want you doing this. It's like on Discord. There are a few servers I have muted all notifications because some mod decided to do a ninja ping on, or, well, sometimes not even ninja pings. I've seen those too. But yeah, if they put up a notification for an ad and it's like, no, I'm sorry, but don't ping my phone with ads. That's not okay. And yeah, so this to me is on that same level. It's it's unjustified. Find another way to find any other avenue to give that advertisement. You own the platform, you don't have to choose the worst method. There are other ways you can do it. When people pull up Siri, dedicate a little bit of the screen to placing an ad if you want. If if people are opening the web browser, look, Google already does this with Chrome. It's not even a big deal anymore. So Safari, put the ad in there. There are a dozen different places that are more appropriate surfaces to place an ad than injecting it into notifications. So yeah, I'm sorry, but no, Apple, you lost the thread on this one. That being said, to this day, I'm still irritated that on the Mac system settings, if you get iCloud yelling about drive space, it appears in your system settings. No,
Mm-hmm.
Apple.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
Windows does that too now. If you're low on OneDrive storage, it shows up in your start menu.
Yeah, that just should not be a thing. Not anywhere close. It's wrong. Go F yourself if you think that's the thing to do. So yeah. Anyway, that's my take on this. Um, and the fact that you right now can't disable it. Okay, I'm gonna go out on kind of a weird limb and say that if you can't disable it today, that's probably okay. Why am I saying this? Because right now I bet Apple has just been blasted so hard on the internet over this, rightfully so. I bet they will not use this advertising avenue until iOS 26 is widely distributed. Now, I'm not saying it'll necessarily take that long, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's at least a couple months after the release of iOS 26. It could be a couple weeks, but well, let's give benefit of the doubt. I think they'll wait a month at least, maybe two, and then they might start blasting out the occasional ad through this path. Then, in the meantime, I think they recognize that this was such bad publicity for them. They're not going to do it again until people have the option to opt out.
Yep. So that's all I have to say is that Apple can shove it. And last thing here is really bizarre news from Klarna, which is one of those buy now, pay later providers. They announced that they are launching a mobile phone carrier. So you can get your cell service through Klarna, which is the company you probably associate most with like the pay in for things on every store page. So Klarna announced this. They said that they're selling their mobile plan for $40 a month. It's on AT&T, which is kind of weird. You don't see a lot of NVMOs trying to be on AT&T. It's usually T-Mobile or Verizon. But they're promising unlimited 5G data at 5G speeds. AT&T's network set up in minutes. No fees for activation or cancellation. You can keep your number or get a new one. It just uses eSIM. I don't know if they have any infrastructure for like physical SIMs if you need that. And it's fully managed in the Klarna app. And this is actually being run by a different company called Gigs, which their entire business model is being like a middleman for any company that wants to be an NVMO. Like they run the actual infrastructure. They have the contract with, I guess, AT&T. And I went on their website and they do talk about like why, like I think that'd be everyone's first question. It's like why would you do this? Well, on their website they do make the compelling case of like it's a way to grow your brand and sort of keep them engaged based on the fact that everyone hates their mobile carrier. So if you could offer a like not annoying alternative that's relatively cheap, that would be a positive for your brand perception to that person. And it keeps them it keeps them engaged with whatever app you have. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say the Klarna app that you would manage your phone number in probably also will sell you stuff or like remind you of the loan you haven't paid them or whatever. And that's a way for them to get you to open the app more often. And they can also like that. I don't know if Klarna specifically is going to do this, but Gigs mentioned on their site like how it lets companies like bundle stuff. So I don't know if maybe you get like some specific loan on Klarna, you get like a discount on your mobile service or something. They can hook up a lot of stuff. Um, but yeah, this is just gross. Like the less you can interact with Klarna and all the other buy now pay later companies, the better. There's not there's not really a compelling reason to use this. There's a lot of other budget carriers that are cheaper than this that have unlimited data. I checked Cricket Wireless, which is my carrier, which is owned by AT&T, so it's the same network as this, and they have a $40 a month plan that is almost identical. I think that one even has hotspot, and I don't think this does. So there's a lot of company like I think Visible for at least the first year is like $30 a month, and they include tethering on that for one line. So there's not really a reason to do this. This is just Klarna trying to get another revenue stream out of customers, and it's not necessary. Don't do it.
Wow, I thought you were going to have a lot more to say on this. Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't go into the tirade about how I like hate all these companies, but I think I mostly got that out of my system already. But yeah, Klarna sucks. All these companies suck. Austin said rip Trump Mobile. That this did make me wonder, is Trump Mobile also using the same infrastructure? If they're not, then they're probably using a very similar service from a similar company. But it does make me wonder.
yeah, I was
Because like,
thinking the same thing because, okay, I know that this is kind of a weird basis for the thing, but this feels like a Bring It On situation, literally the movie Bring It On, where two groups show up at almost the exact same time with the exact same offering or close enough, and it's like, wait a second, this is a little too similar. And yeah, it's probably because someone's going around hawking this to whoever will listen, whoever's willing to take it. And yeah, that it feels too obvious something's up.
yeah, and I think the I guess I'm kind of wondering why there hasn't been more companies trying this of just like randomly doing NVMO, because you know Gigs and other companies like this have made it really easy. It's just like a thing you integrate into something else, because like really all it is at this point is it's completely digital infrastructure because you've got eSIMs now. So there's no, you know, you don't need physical stores. You don't need like a physical place that's printing and mailing out SIM cards. I'm assuming Gigs handles like the customer service part.
Yep.
So I'm kind of surprised more companies haven't done this. I because of that, I feel like there's a good chance in the next like couple years we're gonna see like everyone doing this. Like I would put money on there being like a Mr. Beast mobile at some point.
Oh, see, my immediate thought was Roku Mobile.
Roku, yeah, Roku would definitely.
They seem like the company that would definitely do this.
Roku, I think like it'd be funny if like Anchor did it. But like really like any company that just is reaching out to a lot of different branches for recurring revenue, because that's what companies love is subscriptions, and there is no subscription more important than your phone number for a lot of people. So yeah, don't get the mobile plan from Klarna, please. They're evil and you should stay away from them as much as possible.
I should
Alyssa,
note these are opinions, and in case any ambitious lawyer comes along, go pound sand.
yeah. I'm sorry if you want to punch me, you can do it in uh bully sessions of 4. So you can do one now. I will not accept the entire bully session at once. It has to be over 4 payments.
Ah, yes.
Uh, Alyssa said Visible needs family plans. $40 for Visible Plus Pro with 5-year price lock watch service included unless it expired. Yeah, Visible. Every time I've looked, like the past couple times I've had to write about mobile carriers, it seems like they're still generally the best price. Um, I'm still on Cricket because like I haven't really had any issues with them ever, and I feel like that's about as glowing of a recommendation as I can give a tech service. Is like I haven't had to ever think about you. Great. Um, and so I think mine's still $55 a month, and they give me unlimited data and 15 gigs of hotspot. And AT&T has really good coverage around me for whatever reason, so I'm good with it.
Okay, so just regarding the Trump Mobile aspect of this, as far as I can tell, there's no connection because I can't find gigs in any way showing up in relation to Trump Mobile, and also I know that there's still some speculation about this, but by most accounts, Trump Mobile was running over T-Mobile, and
I did
whereas
see on Giggs's website that they had like a banner or something that was showing how they had different carriers as backends, but I don't know if they had a full list
okay,
of which ones.
yeah, I didn't think to look into that, but so yeah, I guess they could. It just seems like, well, I don't know.
And it's not like none of the Trump Mobile stuff I think is live yet, so no one can test this.
True.
So we would only know if Gigs wanted to announce it, and I feel like that's maybe not the best PR move for them if they are even the infrastructure.
You don't
But
want to be
okay.
known as the one who's connected to right wing stuff before anyone else even knows who you are. So yeah, I'm still skeptical because honestly, Gigs looks like it has its act together more than Trump Mobile does, by like leaps and bounds more together. But yeah, still using a different back end. It just kind of seems like they're probably not connected. But to be fair, it's also possible that Gigs might even be contracting some of this stuff through somebody else, and that someone else could be the provider or manager or whatever that's working with Trump Mobile. Or who knows, maybe somebody out there is just selling this idea to different companies and then connecting them with whatever back-end service will put it together for them. Who knows? But the timing is very weird. And who knows, maybe this is gonna become the new thing where every company out there is just gonna have their thing, and you get your service through your favorite whatever your favorite company or scam artist is.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going. Again, there's gonna be a Mr. Beast mobile.
I guess this is time. I should probably announce Tombs Mobile coming to you in 2026. It's a bring your own phone, bring your own everything. Just send me money. And somehow you might get service. I think.
I mean, if I was like a company, I would be like 5% tempted to they have a product here on their website for like companies building kind of their own network for like their employees. I don't know how much customization you get there, but if I had a company and I could like convince them into doing like one line, I would definitely do this just to put a funny word in the network names that stays at the top of my phone. Like I turn on my phone and it's like, oh, good, I've got 5 bars on Shark today.
Okay,
Um,
okay, I get what you're saying, but counterpoint, empty. Literally nothing. You get that space back.
mm, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Ah, yeah. Um,
Or put like some emoji in there. Do something fun.
all
Do like
that's
the table flip emoticon, like something like that. That'd be fun.
yeah. Um, man, locked phones would just really fall apart under this whole scheme. But yeah, I actually kind of like that idea. Also, yeah, companies doing service for their employees, I kind of like that too. I mean, it's uh, I haven't heard much about it, but it does make sense for a lot of companies that have like people who have to be out on call all the time, or um, even like maybe sort of boutique operations for, let's say, doctors. Um, like if a hospital has just got a lot of doctors on call, or anything like that. Like there are a lot of good uses for something like this where you could customize the service, maybe offer specific features that you couldn't really do with a regular service. I kind of see value to that.
Yeah, I was still trying to find um what networks they're using, and it looks like the I can't find anything on their developer documentation. I'll put this in the YouTube chat on their in VMO in a box marketing page. They have a logo at the top that has the T-Mobile and AT&T logos. So they have those two.
Okay. So
And then
yeah,
also a third one that I don't recognize, but might just be a carrier in a different country.
I guess this could still be the thing behind Trump Mobile, but right now, again, this just looks like they have their act way more to put together than what Trump Mobile's presenting. So it, I don't know. That leaves me thinking that it's still not connected, but hard to say. Um, Still, the fact that we're directly seeing companies offering up these MVNO in a box solutions, just a turnkey business that you sign up for. That's like, man, you know what it reminds me of is those travel agencies back in like I guess like the late 90s, early 2000s, like Travelocity and the other one. I'm blanking on their name. Yeah, people would just sign up for it and they get like a crappy web page or whatever that they could direct people to that had the search box for the travel company. And it's like, hey, if someone comes to your site and searches through this dumb little page, then you get a referral credit. And people thought they were going to get rich quick off of this stuff. They did not.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert.
What a shame. But yeah,
Yes.
look forward to Shark Mobile. I'll get the paperwork started.
Um, Honestly, better name than some of the companies out there. I like it.
You're really funny, actually. Is to do this and name it Sprint.
Oh no, no. I'm sure
Guys,
that name's owned.
Sprint is back. Sprint is back. Look at my
Um,
phone. It says Sprint.
Obviously it doesn't have the same impact, but it also does. Run fast. I would just totally do the Run Fast network.
Yeah. See, this is the kind of fun stuff I would do if I was a millionaire, right? Is all the other millionaires are like, I will fund Andrew Cuomo's mayoral campaign to destroy the poor people. And I'm like, who wants to sign up for Sharp Mobile? Come on down. And I also think about this, like this would be the fun stuff to do with old brands where like, TCL is buying up Palm and then using it once and then giving up. And then I'd be like, all right, I'm buying Palm. I'm gonna make a Mastodon server at Palm's website. So you can have it at Palm social media, and then you can have a phone plan on it. That'd be fun. That's what I've thought about this multiple times with like all of the dead social media
I
networks.
was just gonna
Like it'd
make a
be really
MySpace joke.
fun. Yeah, like someone like I would buy MySpace.com and make it a Mastodon server. I think that'd be really fun.
Okay, so at this point, I think it just bears saying. Uh, I now have to have phone service on Friendster so that I can connect with people on the Friendster network.
Yeah.
We can bring it back, boys and girls. We can bring back Friendster.
Yeah, and
I
this is why you should sign up for Cody's Patreon, so we can get started on this.
Does Friendster still exist? And honestly, I've never actually seen Friendster before, so it does exist. There's still a page.
The better question is MySpace still a weird like music site?
It is.
Oh,
I looked that one up like a year ago.
I have to wonder if like does anyone even go here? Do they even get like sad Google traffic?
um, I actually did see a link to this in a search. I don't know how long ago. It was probably at least 2 years, but there was actually something that linked me to MySpace, legitimately, and I was pretty surprised by that.
They're not sending their best front end developers. I've got a big cookie floating button over what looks like media controls, and the website looks like one of the old default WordPress themes.
Yeah, it kind of does. Um, I don't know. I've seen worse, but this is also pretty bad.
I scrolled down only a little bit, and I got an article from 2022. They have one person working here now. Are they okay? What's going on with MySpace? A part of
I see an
People
article from
Entertainment
2025.
Weekly. Oh shit! It's the Entertainment Weekly people. When
Oh
did they
wait.
get this? What's going on?
Okay. This is by a quote Spin contributor. Spin is an actual company, so I don't think
Yeah,
that this is by
they're
Spin.
just well, the
Are
corner
they?
of the website says part of the People slash Entertainment Weekly network. So I guess they're just cross
Yeah. Okay.
posting
That's
stuff.
that's definitely what it is.
We'll get to the bottom
Um.
of this.
Yeah. Everything's from Spin. Spin staff or Spin network or Spin contributor. Um. So yeah. This is bleak. Oh, we have an auto playing video. Or well, a pop-up for an auto playing video. It didn't actually autoplay. That's fun.
Many such cases.
Which makes me wonder, is it broken? did
Yeah.
did did they fail the basic thing where they just couldn't get it working? Is this like a Valnet situation? Wow. Anyway, so Flipboard for music, man, they wish. Is Flipboard still around? It probably
I
is.
think so.
It,
Yeah, I hear them every once in a while. They do Fediverse stuff now,
oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. I remember wanting
which
to
is what
congratulate
MySpace
them
should
for
be
that.
doing.
Honestly, yes. MySpace really should have jumped on the Mastodon train a while ago. It,
This is
they
this is
made a mistake.
why this is why Mastodon is failing is because I can't get an account at myspace.com or AOL.com. Come on, get it together. Do you know how fun it would be to buy AOL.com and make a Mastodon front end that looks like AIM? This is what the millionaires should be doing with their money.
I'm concerned about the word choice fun. That's the word you picked, and I'm thinking there's nothing fun left about making something that looks like AIM.
Does AOL.com still? I think. Wait, actually, does Netscape.com still work?
Oh my god.
No, it doesn't. Okay. I know for a while Netscape.com was still working as like I think it was like a skinned version of AOL.com.
Yeah, this is what
Because
Netscape
that's what
Netscape now redirects to AOL.com.
okay, yeah, because AOL bought them and then
Ages ago,
I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah, that was
Well, and AOL is now
2000
owned
2000
by
something.
or AOL has passed between like 3 different owners. At one point, Verizon owned them. Well, Yahoo owned them, then Verizon owned them. Or wait, did AOL own Yahoo? Whatever it was.
I don't know, but at the bottom of their site now, they say AOL is copyright Yahoo. So they're the same thing now.
I think that just means that Yahoo owns them. So yeah, Yahoo owned it, and then Verizon bought Yahoo, and then, well, partially bought Yahoo, because if I remember, Yahoo's also partially owned by that Chinese company, I think, or maybe it was a Russian company. I don't care. And yeah, then it got sold off to somebody else, or someone's stake got sold off to someone else. So who knows anymore? Also, just as a side thought, the AOL logo at the top looks horrendous. That is just such a,
yeah, that's gross.
That just a miserable 3 letters that are really poorly rounded, like awkwardly rounded, and it looks like,
it is always crazy when you get companies that are like ashamed of their much better brand identity.
Yeah,
like, as restaurants love doing this, where they make like a really shitty logo, and then every once in a while they'll go back to the last one as like a limited edition thing, and you're like, why don't you just keep that? It's clearly better. Everyone likes this better.
also they have an article on here right now from ABC News, which, okay, ABC News is a little bit to blame here too, but titled "Lifeguard Impaled by Beach Umbrella," and then in single quote it says "Tough Young Woman." What? ABC News, maybe you shouldn't have gone with that title. I'm assuming that she lived, but still, what the what? Guys.
Oh no, Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom broke up.
Wait, they were together?
Apparently. I don't know what either of them are doing, except Katy Perry being a fake astronaut.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually, well, a fake astronaut and notoriously a really bad musical show. I don't know if you heard about that, but that was a big drama with her like a few months or a year ago.
Being a really bad astronaut and then getting defensive about it.
That too. Which
is really funny. If you're gonna pay them much money to go into space to be a fake astronaut, at least own up to it. Don't apologize. That's a coward's way out.
Yes. That and Orlando Bloom, about the only thing I know he's done in the last 10 years is the movie that just came out that looks okay at best, but it doesn't look like him, so I'm not counting it as him. He looks like he's gone through that spend all your time in the gym and try to bulk up to be an action hero kind of character, and yeah, it's not just doesn't feel like Orlando Bloom anymore.
He needs Sharp Mobile.
He needs Sharp Mobile.
We all do.
Oh boy. Wow. How AOL has fallen. Okay, so let's see. Anyway, that's it, I think, right? Yes, we need Legolas. Legolas Mobile. Part of the Sharp Mobile network.
Yep.
Yes, Sharp Mobile is the parent company that Legolas is part of.
Also owned by AOL.
Owned by Yahoo.
Yep.
Part of the Verizon company. No, anyway. So yeah, let's end this before we all go insane. Okay, so Corbin, anything?
Several hours too late for that.
True enough. Corbin, anything you'd like to pitch, publish, talk about, mention, describe, or give away?
No,
I
except that I'm trying to work on more Tech Tales episodes. I've got two kind of in a pipeline somewhere. So yay. I haven't forgotten. It's not dead. It's just really time consuming to work on, and I haven't had the energy to work on it. It's not dead.
believe me, I understand how this goes.
Rumors of its death have been greatly exaggerated. And I also once again reworked part of the production for it, so to hopefully make it easier.
But hey, aren't you glad I say that that you went the route of not making this like a show with any sort of designated schedule? You can just put out episodes whenever you feel like it, and good choice.
Yeah, because it's not my job. It's not my job. I don't need a schedule. I don't have advertisers. Do you know how difficult it is to get advertisers for a podcast? I need like 50 times as many listeners.
In point of fact, I do have some concept of how hard it is to get advertisers for a podcast, which I actually did succeed in, but yeah, they didn't get to advertise, but that's a whole separate story, and the reason why the original AP podcast is not still around.
That's also why we need Sharp Mobile to advertise on Tech Tales.
That too. So hurry up and get Sharp Mobile going, and you can pay for advertising to yourself. That's how things work, I think. All right. Anyway, as for myself, I will be back this weekend with some game streams. New season of Overwatch has begun, so you can look forward to at least some of that. And who knows? Maybe I will be digging into a few other games as well. Get a little bit of time on, I don't know, Rivals or something. And of course, we will be back next week with another RambleCast, and it will be the pre-Prime Day 2025 edition. That we're not actually going to talk about Prime Day, probably.
I'm so tired. I'm already so Prime Day'd out. If I see the word again, I might lose it.
Well, seeing as it hasn't happened yet, you are definitely destined to see it again. So
yeah.
Corbin,
Unfortunately,
I feel the need to remind you yet again. This is the type of thing that has driven many of us to drink, and anytime you're ready, let's have a drink together. But with that, yes, we'll see you all for sure next week, and hopefully at least a couple of you, maybe over the weekend. In the meantime, huge thanks go out to chatters. Diablo, Alyssa, Austin, Carson, y'all are awesome. And of course, all the contributors to the channel, David, Austin, Carson, Diablo, and Alyssa, y'all doubly awesome. Love your faces. For those who would like to support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. But with that, we're going to wrap this one up. So I hope you all have an excellent rest of your week. We'll see you soon. Good night, everybody.
bye.